Let's take a step back and let's look just at the business development part, the part where other people call it sales. I'm sure you either saw this with other colleagues that were in law, that they didn't realize that besides studying to be a lawyer, you also have to sell the business too. It's a very tough career. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure that's like shocking. What do you mean I have to go get business that I have to also work on?
Yeah, I'll fast forward and say the good news is I think law schools are starting to pay attention to that now. I know there were no sales and marketing classes when I was in law school, and that's...
Do they have that though now? Will you
some
find
law
business
schools
development?
are becoming a little more
elective?
invested in that. Actually, we're seeing law schools that have entrepreneurship type of programs now. Not necessarily entrepreneurial law, but knowing because of the job market, you as a lawyer may have to hang out your shingle right out of law school. How do you help with that? But I'd say that there's the disconnect is between older generations who think that just doing a good job will yield business. That business will find you if you just do good work. And unfortunately, these days, doing good work is kind of the price of admission. You still have to do the marketing.
And you have to have people like you. I mean, there's so many other things now. It's very competitive. That's
it. And I think we place a lot of, and I say this we as a profession, we place a lot of pressure on lawyers to close business, go get a client, especially if you're in a larger firm and that may be an expectation for partnership. But if you take the onus off of yourself and instead say, I want to go and build great relationships, and within those relationships, I'm going to convey my knowledge and my expertise and the value of my services, that's how you develop the business. I think that the idea of lawyers helping their clients is really the most important factor and marketing message. I counsel lawyers to say, I don't do employment law, I don't do tax law, I don't do litigation. Instead, I help people with these issues. I help my clients to overcome these issues. And when you frame it that way and you start thinking about your role, it's a little bit different. And I think the other thing too is I'm a big proponent of asking for help as a lawyer, as a means to develop business. We're trained for 3 years or more in law school to be the experts, to have the answers. And when you can turn the table and go to a client or a prospective client and say, you know what, I could use your help, I really like your insight on something. Business development is a series of conversations. That's all it is. And so if you can generate those conversations and keep them going over time, then you win that relationship game.
What are some of the toughest things that you see when you are called in this situation? Let's say for the solo practitioner, what is some of their, what's a big hurdle for them when it comes to these types of things, business development speaking?
Time. You've got an office to run. You have people depending on you, not just clients. You may have staff as well, families. You're it.
You're already working 23 hours a day.
You may very well be. And what I often hear is, I'm so busy I don't have time for business development, or I'm really, really slow, so I really better get on the business development game. And instead, it really should be an even regimen, something you do all the time. And then the patience part. I went to that meeting, why isn't my phone ringing? I had that coffee, I met that referring attorney, I met that prospective client. Where's the business? It doesn't happen that quickly. It really is an investment.
And is this the same kind of theme that you see when you go into a larger firm where you're dealing with a team or a group? Are these the same issues, or do they have any nuanced changes?
I think that the time and the patience is still there, but when you get into larger law firms, you find that they're very, we use the term siloized. A business, as we think of it, a manufacturing organization, are a bunch of people kind of working together all to create a product, to produce something. Law firms are really a bunch of individual practices kind of put together under one roof. So I think the biggest challenge I see in larger firms is there are great people doing different things that are kind of closely related, and yet they struggle with how do we get more share of client amongst the attorneys that we have doing all these different great things. There's a lot of possessiveness, insecurity sometimes, lack of knowledge that happens in a law firm. And it's a wonderful challenge for me because it's internal marketing. It's internal business
Right.
development. If you can get them in that mindset too, then you really can move the needle.
And the other thing is that's where I think maybe that Myers-Briggs would come in really very handy if you can do assessments on everybody and see, why situations are happening between folks.
It's such an interesting area, Tara, because when you administer a Myers-Briggs system to an attorney, and I'd say this generally, the first reaction is, oh, that's why I think the way I do. And then you can just kind of wait for it. You can kind of, then all of a sudden they say, oh, you mean other people don't think like the way I do? And so once you have an understanding, then you can change your communication style. You can understand how other people might process information, and then you can build a better relationship. I worked with a law firm one time. They had done the Myers-Briggs type assessment for their staff, not for their attorneys. And it was a big enough firm that they had, key cards, security cards. And so on their lanyards, they all had their Myers-Briggs type letters, INTJ or ESTP or whatever, and so they walk around and they kind of identified each other that way.